Hi everyone, I'm Whit Roy. Welcome to the first episode of our series on real EWRB exam result reports. In this series, we'll analyze actual results at different levels, 90, 80, 70, 60 and 50 marks, and see what students can learn to improve their study. In this lesson, we're looking at a real candidate who scored 90% in the electrician regulations exam. That's a strong pass, but the knowledge deficiency report shows 9 wrong answers out of 90. Let's break down exactly where those mistakes happened and what we can learn from them. 3 errors came from the wiring rules. Clause 5, 4.3 on lighting point earthing, Clause 6, 2.2 on bathroom zones, and Appendix C2 on maximum demand. Let's start with Clause 5, 4.3 of AS NZS 3000, which covers lighting points. The rule says that a protective earthing conductor must be provided at every lighting point, including transformers supplying ELV lighting systems. But there are exceptions: festoon lamp holders, luminaires earthed through metal conduit, fittings on non-conductive poles, and LV lighting points. A common mistake is thinking all lighting points must be earthed or mixing up ELV with low voltage. Key takeaway: know the exceptions and apply them correctly in the exam. Next up is Clause 6, 2.2, which covers bathroom and shower zones. These are zones 0, 1, 2, and 3, and they set out exactly where fittings can and can't go. The biggest mistakes here are mixing up zone 0 and zone 1, or forgetting that in New Zealand the height is 2.25 meters, not 2.5 like in Australia. Another common one is thinking fittings can go in zone 1 when actually most fittings are prohibited. So the key message is this: get those zone distances clear in your head. Zones exist to protect people where water and electricity meet. And in the exam, this detail really matters. Now let's talk about Appendix C2 and the maximum demand table. The first common mistake is mixing up the columns or missing the exceptions. Table C1 has a lot of footnotes, and certain cases like outdoor lighting or fixed appliances fall under special notes. If you don't check carefully, it's easy to apply the wrong value. The second mistake is that sometimes the exam question doesn't use wording that exactly matches the table. That can cause confusion. For example, with socket outlets, if the question doesn't clearly say permanently connected or specify what the outlet is for, students are left guessing which subgroup in load group B applies. So here's the key tip: always look for the exact match between the question and the table. If the wording isn't clear, slow down and think carefully, because in the exam, choosing the wrong row will cost you marks even if you understand the principle. 2 mistakes came from the Electricity Act. Now let's look at Section 76 of the Electricity Act, which deals with supervision. The law says an unregistered person can only carry out prescribed electrical work if they are properly supervised. That means there are limits on what they can do, and the final connection must always be made and certified by a registered person. A common mistake is thinking trainees can connect equipment to the supply, but that's not true. Only a registered person with a practicing license can do that. Another mistake is forgetting that testing and certification must also be done by the supervisor, not the trainee. So the key learning here is clear: supervision means learning, but the legal responsibility always remains with the registered person. Section 82 is about testing, certification, and inspection. It says no prescribed electrical work can be connected to a power supply unless it has been tested, inspected, and certified in line with the regulations. A common mistake is thinking that small or minor jobs don't need certification, but they do. Another error is forgetting that even selling or supplying uncertified work is an offense. And some candidates overlook that certification is a legal requirement, not just a formality. So the key takeaway is clear: all prescribed electrical work must be tested, inspected, and certified before connection to supply, no exceptions. In this result report, one of the errors came from Section 4 of AS NZS 3008, which covers voltage drop. The first common mistake is using the wrong current in the formula. Students sometimes take the cable's current carrying capacity instead of the actual load current. Remember, load current is what matters and it doesn't change. The second mistake is choosing the wrong millivolt per amp per meter value from the tables. Some candidates accidentally swap between copper and aluminium tables or pick the wrong installation condition, and that gives the wrong result. The third mistake is forgetting the single phase correction factor. The values in the tables are based on 3-phase, so when you're working with single phase, you must multiply the VC value by 1.155. Missing that step means your voltage drop will be undercalculated. So the key takeaway is this: always use the load current, pick the right VC value for the cable type and installation, and apply the 1.155 correction for single-phase circuits. 3 mistakes were from the electricity safety regulations. Regulation 65 covers when a certificate of compliance must be issued. Regulation 74G sets out the rules for electrical safety certificates. And Regulation 90 explains testing appliances after certain work done on them. Now we move to Regulation 65 certificates of compliance. A COC must be issued for all general and high-risk prescribed electrical work. A common mistake is thinking COCs are only needed for general risk jobs. That's wrong. They are needed for both general and high-risk work. Another mistake is not knowing who can issue a COC. It can only be issued by a registered person with a current practicing license. So the key takeaway is simple. A certificate of compliance must always be issued for all general and high-risk prescribed work, no exceptions. Next, let's look at Regulation 74G electrical safety certificates. The rule is clear: an ESC must be provided within 20 working days, kept for at least 7 years, and a copy must be given to regulators, the customer, or the owner if requested. Common exam mistakes include forgetting the 20-day deadline, thinking only the customer gets a copy, or overlooking the 7-year record-keeping requirement. So the key learning is this: electrical safety certificates are legal proof of safety. They come with strict deadlines and storage rules, and you must treat them like official documents. In this result report, one of the errors was Regulation 90 of the Electricity Safety Regulations, which is about testing appliances after certain work. The rule is simple: if you do any prescribed work or any work that might affect an appliance's safety, you must test it before releasing it. There are only 2 outcomes. If it's safe, confirm it against the correct standard, ECP 50 for domestic appliances, AS/NZS 3551 for medical devices, or AS/NZS 5762 for other appliances. If it's unsafe, you must disable it and clearly mark it. A common exam mistake is not knowing both outcomes or forgetting that failure to comply is an offense with a level 2 penalty. So the key takeaway is clear: every appliance must either be proven safe to the standard or removed from service. There is no middle option. To finish, the lesson from this knowledge deficiency report is that even strong candidates need to revise details. Focus on the exceptions in the wiring rules, practice cable sizing and voltage drop using AS/NZS 3008, review legal responsibilities in the Act, and make sure you know the certification and testing appliances duties in the regulations. Now let's do a quick review quiz covering all 10 errors just to reinforce your study. Take your time, think carefully, and check what you've learned. Good luck for your EWRB exam.